Hi there and welcome to Juicy Celeb Talks. A lavish life built on deceit has finally unraveled, and the downfall everyone has been waiting for is here. Tiffany Henyard, once hailed as the super mayor, has turned herself in following a shocking FBI raid that exposed her dark secret. While her town struggled with financial woes, she lived in luxury, funding her extravagant lifestyle with taxpayer money. Now, she's facing the consequences, with up to 25 years in prison looming over her head. This is the scandal that will reveal everything about Tiffany Henyard, the once untouchable mayor of South Chicago, who now faces 22 federal charges. These charges aren't just the run-of-the-mill corruption accusations either. Henyard is accused of misusing millions of dollars in taxpayer money. The FBI had been watching her for a long time, and after numerous subpoenas and whispers behind closed doors, they finally made their move. What makes this story even more astonishing is that this isn't the first time Henyard has faced legal trouble. In the past, she was arrested for tampering with a vehicle, but now the list of charges she's up against is far more severe and likely to land her behind bars for a long time. Henyard didn't care about the people of Dolton, Illinois, or the town's finances. While the city was crumbling, she was parading around in a taxpayer-funded motorcade, flaunting her power as if it were her own personal playground. Just wait until you hear how she turned Dolton's funds into her own personal shopping spree. In just 1 year, a town that was financially stable went broke, and the blame rests squarely on Henyard's shoulders. From a surplus of $5.6 million to a debt of $3.6 million in 365 days, the transformation was staggering. While the people of Dolton struggled to make ends meet, their leader was living large, acting like she had won the lottery. Let's take a closer look at some of her outrageous spending. On September 1, 2023, Henyard embarked on a $7,700 shopping spree at Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair in a single day. This wasn't just a bit of retail therapy, it was a full-blown shopping attack, all funded by the hard-working taxpayers of Dolton. And when it came to travel, Henyard wasn't flying economy like the rest of us. No, she was all about first-class flights. Why stop there? She even hired a professional hair and makeup team because, apparently, running a town into the ground requires looking flawless 24/7. The travel expenses alone under Henyard's administration amounted to over $12,000 in just 1 year. Meanwhile, Dolton's financial situation was spiraling out of control, with the town going from a healthy surplus to millions in debt. But while the town was sinking, Henyard was living it up like a real housewife of Illinois. The financial chaos led to drastic measures, with officials even banning Henyard from using the town's credit cards for unauthorized purchases. Imagine being mayor and having your allowance cut off. If you thought her spending spree was out of control, buckle up, because there's more. Henyard didn't just treat herself, she spread the love to her family too. And by love, I mean a cool $561,000 spent on repaving her mother's driveway. Yes, you heard that right. Over $500,000 for one driveway. But it didn't stop there. Henyard also decided that the town's police force would make an excellent personal security detail. Why have officers patrolling the streets when they could be chauffeuring the mayor around town? As residents wondered where all the police had gone, Henyard had them running her errands like personal assistants. A former police chief revealed that they needed officers on the streets fighting crime, but instead, they had some officers chauffeuring the mayor around as if she had her own private security service. While Henyard lived like royalty, the rest of Dolton was left to wonder if anyone was left to respond to emergency calls. But even after her spending was reined in, Henyard didn't let a little thing like rules stop her party. Despite being cut off by the Illinois State Comptroller for reckless spending, she threw a massive party for the town, using $50,000 for just 1 hour of performances. Kiki Wyatt and Jay Holiday were paid $30,000 and $20,000, respectively, for brief sets. As if that wasn't wild enough, she spent an additional $36,000 on sound systems, staff, equipment, comedians, and even $6,600 on bounce houses. Yes, bounce houses. Meanwhile, Dallas's residents, like Jennifer Roberts, were furious. Roberts told WG9, "That's my money. That's the people's money." Former trustee Valeria Nails didn't hold back either, calling the event a total flop with only about 70 people showing up. Nails didn't mince words, accusing Henyard of using taxpayer dollars to promote herself. And according to another resident, Britain, Henyard isn't going down without a fight. Tiffany is a narcissist. She will do whatever she wants until they put cuffs on her, Britain said. While all eyes were on the FBI and the angry residents, there was an unexpected twist. Enter Carmen Carlisle, Tiffany Henyard's former right-hand woman. Carlisle was Henyard's trusted confidant, the one who knew all the secrets. But something changed, and Carlisle decided it was time to come clean. Whether it was a guilty conscience or simply getting fed up with watching Dolton get robbed blind, Carlisle flipped and started cooperating with authorities.
Carlisle went straight to the feds, armed with receipts that exposed Henyard's corruption. She revealed how Henyard had been running Dolton like her personal bank account, manipulating employees, vendors, and residents, while flashing $1 million smile for the cameras. In her own words, for the past 2 years, Henyard has manipulated employees, vendors, and residents, using her position to increase her influence while projecting a false image of progress. In addition to her personal splurges, Tiffany Henyard's misuse of funds extended beyond the mayor's office. She pulled her family into the mix, using taxpayer dollars to benefit those closest to her. One of the most jaw-dropping examples of her misuse of public money involved repaving her mother's driveway at the staggering cost of $561,000. Over $500,000 for a driveway, an expense so outrageous it's hard to wrap your head around it. And yet Henyard didn't stop there. Her personal agenda infiltrated the local police force, which was repurposed to act as her personal security detail. Officers who should have been patrolling the streets of Dolton were instead chauffeuring Henyard around town, running personal errands for her as if they were hired help. Former Police Chief Keith Freeman even revealed that officers were reassigned from protecting the public to serving the mayor's personal needs. The situation was so dire that Dolton residents began to notice a lack of police presence in their community. Crime rates soared, while Henyard lived a life of opulence, protected by those who were supposed to be ensuring the town's safety. As this chaotic misuse of public resources continued, Henyard's grip on power tightened. When people began to push back, trying to expose her corrupt dealings, she used fear tactics to silence them. Those who challenged her were quickly fired or bullied into submission. Even her trustees faced intimidation. The moment anyone tried to shine a light on her misconduct, they found themselves targeted by Henyard's iron-fisted leadership.
In some cases, she reportedly used taxpayer dollars to mount campaigns designed to keep her image pristine, plastering her face on everything from billboards to government offices. It was as if she were running her own twisted reality show, where the town of Dolton served as her playground and its citizens were the unwitting audience. However, the most shocking part of this saga is the level of impact Henyard's actions had on the community. Dolton was once a financially stable town, boasting a $5.6 million surplus. But in just 1 year under Henyard's leadership, that surplus evaporated, leaving Dolton in a financial hole of $3.6 million. Residents were left wondering where their hard-earned tax dollars had gone. Local services suffered, infrastructure projects stalled, and the town's debt spiraled out of control. The financial ruin Henyard caused didn't just impact the town's budget, it devastated the lives of countless residents. People who once felt secure in their small community now faced uncertainty as Dolton's future became bleak. Even as Henyard faced mounting scrutiny, she continued to flaunt her disregard for the law. In a particularly audacious move, she hosted a lavish party for the town of Dolton using $50,000 of taxpayer money. For just 1 hour's worth of entertainment, she paid performers Kiki Wyatt and Jay Holiday $30,000 and $20,000, respectively. In addition to those fees, she spent another $36,000 on sound systems, staff, equipment, and, perhaps most ridiculously, $6,600 on inflatable bounce houses. All this, while the town's residents were struggling to make ends meet, only served to further enrage the community. Jennifer Roberts, a Dolton resident, summed up the town's sentiment best when she told local news that "It's my money, it's the people's money." The sense of betrayal felt by residents was palpable. As more and more people began speaking out, the stories of Henyard's unethical behavior became impossible to ignore. Former trustee Valeria Nails didn't hold back when she called Henyard's spending spree a total bust. At one of the events Henyard threw with taxpayer money, only about 70 people showed up. Nails was vocal in accusing Henyard of using public funds to elevate her own image rather than working to benefit the town. Residents like Britton voiced similar frustrations, expressing doubts that Henyard would ever stop unless she was physically removed from office. Many in Dolton believed she was so self-centered that she would continue down this destructive path until she was finally put behind bars. While the FBI investigation was unfolding, the townspeople were growing increasingly frustrated with the slow pace of justice. They had watched as Henyard dodged accountability time and time again while their town suffered. The emotional toll on the community was significant, and many residents felt powerless against the corruption that had taken root in their local government. Henyard's actions had not only drained the town's finances, but also left residents feeling neglected and ignored. For them, it wasn't just about the money, it was about trust. And that trust had been shattered. Carmen Carlisle, Henyard's former right-hand woman, was the key to bringing her down. Carlisle had been Henyard's confidant, the person who knew all of her secrets and shady dealings. For years, Carlisle stood by Henyard's side, but eventually, something shifted. Whether it was a guilty conscience or simply being fed up with the blatant corruption, Carlisle decided to flip. She went to federal authorities with a treasure trove of evidence, exposing Henyard's manipulations and lies. Carlisle's decision to blow the whistle marked a turning point in the investigation. Her testimony, paired with a mountain of financial records, painted a damning picture of how Henyard had been running Dolton as her personal piggy bank. However, the repercussions of Carlisle's actions weren't limited to the courtroom. Shortly after coming forward, she was physically assaulted, an attack many speculate was orchestrated by Henyard's camp. Though no one could prove Henyard was behind the assault, the timing and circumstances raised eyebrows. Despite the personal danger, Carlisle continued to cooperate with authorities, ensuring that Henyard's misdeeds would be fully exposed. And she wasn't the only one turning on Henyard. Keith Freeman, Henyard's former advisor, also found himself in hot water. Facing charges of bankruptcy fraud, Freeman reportedly began cooperating with the FBI as well, adding more pressure on Henyard and her associates. The walls were closing in, but Henyard remained stubborn. In the end, Henyard's downfall was inevitable. The FBI had built a case so strong that even she couldn't wriggle out of it. When she finally turned herself in, many speculated that she was trying to strike a deal, offering to expose her accomplices in exchange for a lighter sentence. Whether or not she succeeded in that, the damage had already been done. The town of Dolton had been gutted, its finances left in ruins, and its residents were reeling from the betrayal of the person they had once trusted to lead them. Henyard's story is a cautionary tale of unchecked power and greed. It's a reminder that even in the smallest towns, corruption can take root if left unchallenged. The residents of Dolton may have been victims of Henyard's schemes, but in the end, they found their voices. They rallied, demanded accountability, and refused to let their town be destroyed by one person's ego. Though the road to recovery will be long and difficult, Dolton now has a chance to rebuild. And as the town begins to pick up the pieces, Henyard will be facing the consequences of her actions behind bars, far from the luxurious life she once enjoyed.